make me fight World War III.
You're not in Israel. You're in Palestine. You are a terrorist. You're an occupier. My grandmother's older than your country. And you also create a fictitious story.
Which genocide? Which genocide? And now I want you to break down genocide for me.
Well, I don't need to break it down because, in fact, Bibi Netanyahu is up for war crimes and he's a wanted man for genocide. So it's not my opinion. In fact, it's the ruling of international bodies. And if he was not being protected by the Western colonial powers, which are controlled by AIPAC, then he'd be in jail already. What if you're the terrorist? What if you're the terrorist? You're the terrorist. You invaded their land. You are the terrorist.
How to put it? He is right and he is wrong at the same time. And we know this is one of them who hates Hebrew Israelite because he said it out of his own mouth, which the elders have put a video up against him because of what he had said against our people. Alright? So there we have him being, how to put it, not even disingenuous, being incorrect with the information provided, because if you simply had studied, you would have understood that the so-called Edomites today, as well as the Palestinians, the people would have partake in taking our land. Because even when you go back into the scriptures, all the way to the Old Testament, even into the New, Apocrypha as well, it identifies that. Before you start, we say Shalom Yasharallah. Before you go into this lesson, we give all honor, all glory, and all praises be to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakodash. We give double honor to the apostles and prophets and elders of JMS Camp, but as great millstone for the bring forth the 100% truth that have been currently edified under. Shalom to the elect, the tabernacle of David, and I am Brother Tazariak coming to this lesson. Now, for you to understand why the so-called white man is on the land today, you would have to go back into the history to gather the mystery. Of course, you need to have that foundation, and you need to be firmly built up in that foundation to get the answers in the end. All right? So, let's start off with Obadiah chapter 1, because we know that the so-called Edomites, as well as other nations, had their eyes on our land to begin with. And when they had that opportunity, which arise because of our transgressions against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, they use that opportunity to seize it. It's dire. I mean, you know what? Let's just read. Let's go to Obadiah. I will go to different points, showing you in different parts where it took place. So whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, it's an undeniable fact that there are heathens on our land today, while we are scattered amongst the four corners of the earth, trying to catch ourselves and bring ourselves back up by the awakening through the prophets that has been brought forth on the earth for us today, which we call our elders. So let's read Obadiah chapter 1, verses 8. Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? Why is that? And thy mighty men, O Tema, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. And why is that? For number one, for thy violence against thy brother, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. For thy violence against thy brother, number one. Number two, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the stranger carried away captives, his forces and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was one of them. So even the so-called Edomites, aside from the other nations, was part or partaking in that agenda. And we have the example given before, which we'll get, but we know is the nature of Esau Edom to be like that, because remember, according to their blessings, like in Genesis chapter 37, Salah, 27, Slack. Bear with me. And verse 38. Plain and clear as day. Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heaven from above. And here's the point: by thy sword thou shalt live. What is a sword used for? To attack, to slay, to kill, to slaughter. That's what a sword is used for. So it goes, as it says, and by thy sword thou shalt live, and thou shalt serve, and shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Simple, clear cut. That is the mindset. That is the characteristics. That is the blessing given to Esau Edom. Which is why we know, even as it is mentioned in Obadiah chapter 1 verses 11 and 12, that they had their eyes set on our lands to begin with. We're going to precept in Micah before we continue. Micah chapter 2 and verses 1, the end point is at verses 3, but we'll start up some of verses 2, just for the purpose of it. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. And who is doing that today? The so-called wicked. Because you even have a precept. Let me get a precept. I ain't gonna butcher it. Psalm chapter 58 and verses 3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Who are the wicked according to the scriptures? Let's get a precept in Malachi chapter 1 and verses 3 and 4. But let's go from verses 1. The burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I've loved you, said Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Here's the point. Whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build a desolate places. But thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness against the people whom Yahweh had indignation forever. So who is the wicked according to the scriptures? No other than Esau Edom. Continuing. So you see who is the one that has been practicing evil upon their beds, because as soon as they be born, they begin to lie. As soon as they be born, they begin to fabricate so that they can deceive. So who else would be plotting wickedness? Come on, let's be real. And they covet fields and take them by violence. Again, going back into the blessings, and house, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. That sounds pretty much like Esau Edom. Undeniable facts. You can't get around that. Let me get a precept one more time. And going back into what we was talking about, we know for a fact there was their plot, which is why part they themselves had their eye on our land, because what it says here, according to our enemies, which is listed in this very precepts, and their plans to do, eradicate and take over, is very much listed here. So let's read. It says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsels against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For it says, they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. It goes on to the listing. Tabernacles of Edom. One, the main enemy, the ones that the father have indignation forever, he's going to destroy. Esau Edom, the so-called white man, and anybody who goes back to the lineage of the so-called white man, Esau Edom today. Whether it be any other color, it doesn't matter. But the bulk of them are indeed the red skin, which is so-called white man today. All right. And the Ishmaelites of Moab, and Hagarenes, and Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, and the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre, and Asher also is joined with them. They have helped on the children of Lot Salah. Now listen closely. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. It says they became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yea, all their princes of Zebah and as Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the house of power in possession. So they're just like that. You see what it says? O my people, make them like the wheel of fire, because they had planned. So because of that same plan, what was the aim? To what? For the Father to what? Annihilate them. O my people, make them like a wheel of fire, as a stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. See? So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Yahweh. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, because this translates back to Yahweh, which is, when it carry back into the Paleo ancient Hebrew, it translates for the full consonant letters back to Yahweh. Simple. Art the Most High over all the earth. So they had a plan against us, which of course they are going to be unalive for, but they proceeded in their plan. Because when they go into Ezekiel, continuing the 35 to the 36 and verses 5, it tells you right here, we can't get around this. Let's read from verses 5 and 6. It says, therefore, thus saith Yahweh power, surely the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumeans. What does Idumea go into? Let's get that precept in the same Blue Letter Bible to get the definition, so you could see for yourself. But Idumea is literally the so-called Edom or Edomites, which is why I could tell you of a full fact that the so-called Edom today is on Edomites. Many of the Edomites today is on our land, claiming to be us. It's called iconoclast, where they change the images and they take over the history as though it was theirs. That's what they do, which is why it's mentioned in Micah. Let's go back in Micah again for those who fail to understand this precept. Micah chapter 2 and verses 2. It says what? They have covet fields and take them by violence, and houses. So your land, your house, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his what? Heritage. His heritage. What is the children of Israel heritage or inheritance? Part in part, aside from the salvation due to the covenant, but the land. Literally. But let's continue with the precept, because we ain't done. Let's go back into this precept to show y'all that this is so-called Esau Edom today. Y'all don't want to learn that history though. Y'all bypass that history and let Christian tell you something different, so y'all could continue in your nonsense. But no, come back into the history a little bit now. It says what? Therefore, thus saith Yahweh power, surely the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumeans. Even in the NLT, it tells you my jealous anger burn against these nations, especially Esau Edom, because he had indignation forever against Esau Edom, the so-called wicked. We read it in Malachi chapter 1 verses 4. Let's keep going. So it's telling you Edom here. Let's go into the NLT to get the definitions in interlinear to get the actual definition for the word Idumea.
Strong's H123. Edom.
Boom. Boom. Watch it one more time. Boom. You know, Caleb, just put your fingers down and point. That's what I'm doing right now behind the screen. Right there. So Edom, red, Edom. Go back into the strong definition. It says what? Edom, the elder twin brother of Jacob, hence reign Idumea, occupied by him. Edom, Edomites, Idumea. That's who it is. That's who is on the land today. That's who has plotted against us and still remain our enemy, because they, as scripture says, they have a perpetual hatred against us, which we're going to grab this now. But let's keep going. Let's go back into it. Now we identify who this is. Let's continue. It says what? Which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with the spiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Prophesy these things concerning the land of Israel. Why would Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai say to prophesy these things? Because it's a prophecy. It's going to happen to where we are going to be out of our land. And other nations are going to be in our land claiming to be us. That's why he said prophesy these things. Make it make sense. But you're going to sit there and defend the so-called white man when he himself cares about you. I know you're an Edomite in you. I know you have the spirit of Edom in you. I know it. And I know I'm telling you, I don't care what nobody else saying. We don't have wicked jakes out here. But you see how strongly and firmly you defending him, as though he's one of them. I could tell you had to be an Edomite boy. And if you ain't, I pray is one. I pray is an Edomite boy. I'm telling you. You need to be destroyed. Let's keep going. Prophecy, therefore concerning the land, prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains and unto the hills, and to the rivers and to the valleys, which is the people, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Crystal clear cut. Need to continue. Let's get another example in the Apocrypha as well. In the Apocrypha, right? One more. Let's go one more. Like grab First Ezra chapter 4. Because they had an opportunity when they were supposed to give the land back. Look at what they have done. And this is why I be telling all you stop wasting your time with these foolish doctrines of Christianity. They are under a 501c3. They could only be given the wisdom, I can't call it wisdom, perverted gospel from these churches that is under a 501c3. What is a 501c3? In the scriptures, it is known as a bribe or a gift. A gift perverts the gospel. It's that simple. It's called a bribe. It will always be a bribe in the eyes of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and according to the scriptures, because of its characteristics of having to hush or not being able to produce the 100% truth, because it might break some regulations under the 501c3, which might prevent you from getting your bonus or benefits from it. So it's a bribe. Stop wasting your time listening to people under 501c3, which is all the churches under Christianity so far. No joke. Look it up yourself. Every new church that has rise have an agenda to get under 501c3 so they can receive bonuses. And at the very same time, they're teaching change. Sad reality, yeah? Anyways, let's keep going. Let's read. I go from verses verse 49. Right? It says, moreover, he wrote for all the Jews that went out of his realm up into Jewry, concerning their freedom, that no officer, no ruler, no lieutenant, nor treasurer should forcibly enter into their doors, and that all the countries which they hold should be free without tribute, and that the Edomites should give over the villages of the Jews, which then they held. So they didn't give it, they stayed. They remained prideful, bold people, taking over other people's land and having the audacity to fight for it. So, I mean, when you read what I read here, this is the Apocrypha. I mean, this is an undeniable fact. The time of Darius the king, right? That's before, the leading fact would be Maccabees after, which was literally behind Maccabees. This, come on, make it make sense. Make it make sense. You have to be disingenuous to deny this fact. I'm telling you. Let's keep going. Let's get one more precept. Go back into Ezekiel chapter 35. We could read 35 and verse 5 and we skip down. But we could actually hit verse 1 again. Because the Bible tells you twice to prophesy against them. Why are you prophesying against them? Why are you telling people about them from time and time again? Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Who is Mount Seir? Let's get that precept immediately. We're not playing that today. We don't want nobody come and say, that I'm on Seir. What are you talking about? No. We're doing this legit today. Right? Thus dwell Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom, and their generations of Esau, the father of Edomites, in Mount Seir. We need more? Are we good? We need more? Esau is Edom. I think there's another one. Esau, Edom, Mount Seir, blah, blah, blah. I think that's about it. That should work, right? So, referring to the people that is originally urgent of that land, which is what? Esau, Edom, just being straightforward at this point. Alright? So, prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus shall the Yahweh power, behold, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, which is Esau, Edom, because it's mentioned in Malachi. You see the scripture ties together? Let's keep going. And I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Oh my gosh. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred against thy people, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and in the time that the iniquity had an end. Hence the reason why he says, Thy violence against thy brother, shame shall cover them, thou shalt be cut off forever. Esau is going to be unalived. All of Edom is going to be completely wiped away. You can see precept in Obadiah chapter 1 verse 18. Let's continue. I read down. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sit thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus saith Yah, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it that passeth out, and him that returneth, and I will fill the mountains with his slain men. In thy hills and in thy valleys and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolation, which means a permanent destruction. Oh my gosh, Tawada Yahweh Shem Yoshai. And thy city shall not return, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine. What did thou say? These two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. Therefore, here it says, as I live, he claimeth on his own existence. As I live, saith Yahweh power, because of what they have been saying, what they have been trying, what they have been doing. I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. Now we know what a judgment is. I'm going to show that judgment is anyways. It has been mentioned in Psalms later down. It has been mentioned in Obadiah. It has been mentioned in Isaiah. It has been mentioned in Malachi. But it has been mentioned in Exodus and Deuteronomy. Literal prophecy that has to come to pass. I think it's Deuteronomy chapter 25. It has to come to pass. The 17, I believe. It has to come to pass. It has been mentioned there. Prophecy that is going to come to pass as soon as Yahushua comes, and we know what's going to happen. Let's keep going. That's how we know the Old Testament is not done away with. But y'all like to talk this nonsense because y'all don't read prophecies that is mentioned in the Old Testament, even in the Apocrypha, the Old Testament, and even the Torah, the first 5 books, is actually mentioned in the New Testament the exact same way to come to pass. But y'all still will say that the Old Testament is done away with. That is her. But I'm telling you that. Anyways, let's keep going. Let me not stray. Going back into what we are saying. And thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. This is what they believe. But just like the Father has hardened Pharaoh's heart, the Father also hardened the hearts of Esau ultimately. So they are doing exactly what they need to do, so the Father can demonstrate his judgment on the earth again through them. They are going to be the ones to be destroyed. A very harsh destruction. So that everybody else would know, don't mess with the children of Israel. Simple. Don't mess with my people, according to the scriptures, right? Right. I said they are laid desolate, and they are given us to consume. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith Yahweh power, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate, as thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate. So will I do unto thee. You see that? So will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate unto Mount Seir, and all Idumeans. Here it says, and all Idumeans, even all of it. And they shall know that I am Yahweh. All because you wanted to play stubborn and slay your brothers and take over their place of living. That this is what happened to you. All because of your disobedience, number one. Number two is because it has been written that way for a reason. Our scripture tells you about what? Like, before you close, like I precept in Romans now, chapter 9, I believe, verse 23, I believe, verse 22. So like, what if power were to show his wrath, like I said, and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. And who is that vessels of wrath that is fitted to destruction? Like get a precept right in the Little Bible. Isaiah chapter 34, and Salakia, bear with me. Right here, there it is. Like get to the point. Isaiah chapter 34 verses 5. We read it in the both of them, so you get the understanding. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, which we know who Idumea is now, which is Edom, the so-called white man, the Edomites, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. They are the ones marked for that destruction, for this judgment, because it even tells you, and when my sword has finished its work in the heavens, it will fall upon Edom, the nation I have marked for destruction. So it comes together now. Now you understand who is the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction according to the precept in Romans 9 verses 22. Let's get 23. and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. Who are the vessels of mercy? We have to identify that in the same precept, like even go before, where it says Israel was the only nation given mercy by the Heavenly Father, not favor, but more so mercy. But let's read this part. Let's read coming up. We'll see. It says, Luke chapter 1 verse 67, it says, and his father Zechariah was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, saying, Blessed be Yahweh power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and he has raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. The point out for 22, but let's keep going. It says, and that we should be saved from our enemies. Who's our enemies? Mentioned in Psalms, it literally outlines all our enemies, which is still our enemies today, because the system is still up and running, and the new generation have not done anything to remove the system. They are still profiting off the system, so therefore they are still partakers in the wickedness. It makes sense, right? They haven't tried to stop. They are proceeding to do it, and to the point where they are even allowing things like segregation, which is not a problem, but to the point where they are trying their best to unalive us more. Violence against our brother Jacob more and more. It's been shown and proven. So there's no excuse for what's to come for Esau Edom, and your foolish jakes in Christianity can't save them. Let's keep going. How are we going to be saved from our enemies? Y'all can read Revelation chapter 9 and verses 11 straight up to verse 15. The answer is right there. They are going to be slayed. That's how. It says, right, our enemies are from on the hand of all that hate us. So we know Esau Edom have a perpetual hatred against the children of Israel, which is us. So, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant. Who is the vessels of mercy now? The children of Israel. Simple. The children of Israel are the vessels of mercy. And the children of Edom are the vessels of wrath for destruction. Because of their wickedness against us, one in part, dealing with the lesson, casting lots on Israel, taking over our land and refusing to give us back our land. It's not hard. This is literally not hard. So I hope this information was indeed clear and edifying. We'll stop there. There's more, of course. But we could stop there for now. We say Shalom Yasharala, Kal Halal Yam Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Merkah Kodash. We give double honors to the apostles and prophets and elders of James Camp, Bethlehem's great millstone, for they bring forth the 100% truth that I be currently edified under. Shalom to the elect, the tabernacle of David, and I am Roberta Zariak saying to you, Shalom.